Well, fMRI imaging technologies and localized brain injury identify areas of high specialization that correlate to specific areas of the brain. This cannot be the entire story. There is a neurochemical level of interaction in the brain that also exerts a powerful effect on thought and the ability to be self-reflective. This area of neurochemical interaction exists in the tiny spaces between neurons called the synapse, where information is transferred. We know that there are certain compounds in drugs that can seriously impair judgment. For example, anesthesia can remove consciousness altogether. We also know that a proper balance of neurochemicals in the synapse is necessary for effective functioning, and that certain compounds can even enhance that function. One neurochemical that exerts a considerable effect on our metacognitive abilities is dopamine. Dopamine is central to the brain's reward pathway. It is part of that wonderful feeling of accomplishment that our brain naturally rewards us with when we achieve a goal. Nerve cells in the midbrain and frontal lobe form the core of the dopaminergic system, which increases activation while learning and receiving a reward. However, closer investigation seems to indicate that dopamine is more about the anticipation of receiving a reward rather than actually receiving the award. Spikes in dopamine are recorded most prominently when you are working towards rather than after receiving a reward. So by this mechanism, dopamine fuels a goal-directed behavior by calibrating the value of a reward with the work that it takes to achieve it. Dopamine releases decrease over time relative to a given reward. So a reward that was once very motivating and enjoyable will gradually fail to produce the same spike in dopamine, making it feel, less enjoyable and fulfilling over time. This property of diminishing dopaminergic returns drives human behavior towards ever-expanding goals. But it also underlies the human propensity towards addictive behavior. How dopamine does what it does kind of remains somewhat of a mystery. Dopamine is known to produce affective states that help improve focus, which is why ADHD medications like Adderall and Ritalin are prescribed. It's also why many people drink coffee. Paradoxically, dopamine can also impair focus, which is why drugs that work strongly on the dopamine system, like marijuana and painkillers, are prescribed and also abused. Interestingly, dopamine plays an important role in increasing our control over motor activities, as patients with increased dopamine production also present with motor disorders like Parkinson's. Testosterone is another neurotransmitter that can affect metacognitive thinking. In popular culture, testosterone is linked to aggressive behavior, but a closer investigation reveals that this link is actually weak. Testosterone more likely enhances an individual's tendency to fall back on established behavior, making a person who is already prone to aggression more aggressive. Testosterone also makes individuals more egocentric, impulsive, and willing to take risks. But it also increases prosocial behavior. So testosterone may impact metacognition by decreasing activity in the prefrontal cortex, interfering with the brain's ability to plan and execute. However, testosterone is also the driver of the winner effect, which we see in lab animals, where winning a fight increases an animal's willingness to participate in and even succeed in another such fight or interaction. A relatively small number of neurotransmitters have been well studied. The effects of these compounds on human behavior and the mechanisms of their function require much more consideration. Scientific understanding, however, is rapidly developing in this domain of investigation, which holds the hope of new treatments and drugs for various conditions. While perhaps not directly involved in the brain's generation of metacognitive abilities, it is clear that these chemicals play a powerful role in determining how metacognitive abilities are deployed by the brain.